Namaste, my friend. Welcome to Bhakti Yoga Conference, Grace in an Age of Distraction. My name is Happy Jack, the founder of Happy Jack Yoga University and a Master Divinity student here at Harvard. And this is our near daily, sometimes twice daily, as it is today, opportunity to come together in community, in conversation, to hear and to connect with Bhakti Yoga practitioners. We have monks, scholars, yogis, thought leaders, musicians, scientists, beautiful souls from all walks of life. And today is no different. So we're honored to have you here with us. And really the intention is to bring different ideas, different perspectives, hopefully different tools to help us as we walk our bhakti path, we walk our spiritual path. As of this moment, over 4,000 registrations worldwide. It's just incredible. Yeah, huge celebration, Sarah and George. And it's beautiful. We love having you here with us. Those who are watching the recording, and some of us here alive as well. If you have questions, save those for the end. And as I said, this will be a very interactive session. In fact, I'm going to be calling on some of you to do some reading. We will be calling on you to do some reading. But first, let me bring to the screen and welcome our dear friend, Vrindavanath. So grateful to have you here with us, my friend. So Vrindavanath, also originally Sean, Bhakti Yoga has been a part of his life since birth. His family played an integral role in the acquisition and renovation of what is now known as the Bhakti Center in Manhattan's East Village, which is a vibrant spiritual hub for seekers. As a teenager, Vrindavanath formed a personal connection with the Bhagavad Gita, striving to understand its wisdom and apply it to his life. During a gap year between high school and college, he traveled to Vrindavan, the birthplace of Lord Krishna, to formally study bhakti texts. After 14 years immersed in the energy of New York and San Francisco Bay Area, he began to feel the limitations of urban living and decided to return to the heart of bhakti textual study with renewed focus. Over the past 2 years, responding to a growing interest in online spiritual study, he began facilitating group readings of bhakti texts, including the Gita. His sessions are known for their inclusivity, clarity, and devotion-centered approach. Now residing full-time at the Govardhan Eco Village, Vrindavanath is immersed in the study of the Bhagavata Purana, or the Srimad Bhagavatam, alongside a diverse international community of learners. In this session, he will guide you through an overview of the entire Bhagavad Gita, inviting individuals in the group to take turns reading as we move through the flow and themes of the text, an enriching summary in just about 45 minutes. Amazing. So I just got to say a few words myself. I met Vrindavanath a few months ago at the Govardhan Eco Village, was there during winter break. And probably initially, I was initially drawn because he's a fellow Westerner. There's lots of, Indians there. And okay, a Westerner sat down to have breakfast prasadam and just felt an instant connection. It was just so easy and so natural to talk to you. And there was just like a groundedness and a thoughtfulness. And again, there's this quality of bhakti. For me, it's kind of hard to articulate, but it's like I want the qualities that you have. I think I was a bit over enthusiastic at times, and you had such a samatwam, just like even calmness, which I really admire. And so I could sense, right very quickly that this is someone I want to be friends with. This is someone I want to associate with. Within a very short period of time, developed a beautiful relationship, along with another monk, Mohan Vilas, who's actually our next speaker today, in about an hour after. And so between myself, Vrindavanath, Mohan Vilas, I don't know, I sense the three of us are going to be doing nice things together in the future. So the title of today's session is Connecting with God, Krishna's step-by-step suggestions, a thematic summary of the Bhagavad Gita. My friends, if you are ready to get started with Vrindavanath, throw your arms in the air and loudly chant Haribol.
Rivo.
Welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. And thank you all for your eager participation. I could feel it and see it. And I joined a couple of other sessions and I got to see the same kind of participation. Um, so today I thought what would be useful, as Jack just mentioned, was to take you through the Bhagavad Gita, which is revered by about 1 billion people. So worthwhile reading. And yet sometimes it's hard to get into it with its, Sanskrit kind of translations and, uh, um, complex at some points philosophy and theology. So what I did is I prepared this summary. So upfront, forgive if there's some grammatical error or something. I prepared this just for us. And what this will look like is we can take turns reading, and then we'll pause periodically, and some might have reflections or questions. And that way it's an engaging experience, not just reading and hearing, but also sharing and maybe questioning.
I love that. Can I just jump in for a sec, Prabhu? Just before we jump to that briefly, could you just share a little bit beyond what we heard in the bio? What brought you to spiritual life? What brought you to bhakti? Because it's just so helpful to get to know you as an individual. Please give us a taste.
Um, well, in my case, my parents discovered bhakti before I was born. So I was familiar with bhakti growing up. And then I think, like anyone who maybe claims a spiritual path, there's a certain um, period where you go through finding yourself beforehand. So that was my case. Um, and I was lucky, through my work years living in New York and San Francisco, as Jack mentioned, that I had the Gita and these teachings to fall back on. Um, so also I had a particular, I think when I was a teenager, I really made a distinction that this really makes sense. 15, I was reading the Gita myself. And, when we're teenagers, sometimes we're getting into, interesting things even at a young age. So I kind of turned away from that and started getting into the Gita more and more, and the bhakti culture and the sadhana, the practices. Um, yeah, so that's a little bit about me, connected with community, the Bhakti Center in New York, um, Radhanath Swami and other devotees, other sanghas.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, my friend. It's a beautiful journey. Imagine being born, just for us to consider being born into this. Imagine your parents discovering this and having it your whole lives. But no comparison. We're not here to compare and contrast, but very inspiring that it's been there since the beginning. But yeah, please um, take off. Let's jump into Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, who would like to read next or first?
I'm gonna call on yogis. I'm gonna call on Skip to read first. Skip is our resident Yale/Harvard scholar. So I know not to set the standard high. I'm gonna bring it up on the screen and
Here
I'm
I
gonna
am.
take there you are, my friend. Would you begin reading, Skip?
Yes. The introduction paragraph?
Please, yes, and just
Yeah.
continue on. And I'll kind of pause us when it's maybe a great point to reflect or give some space for questions.
Okay. The ancient Bhagavad Gita is a small book that has packed a huge spiritual punch for millennia, encased in the epic Mahabharata and spoken by the Godhead Krishna himself. The Gita lifts us systematically and rationally from the depths of existential despair to the glowing heights of eternal bliss. The journey begins with a simple distinction that Krishna drills home to his suffering, bewildered friend Arjuna. You and I have always existed and always will exist, but we are different from matter. God has created an empirical material world, including our earth, where souls are so inclined may try as long as they like to exploit matter. Since some do not like the idea of a supreme person who is the Lord, Krishna presents to these the goddess world they desire. In other words, he respects our free will. Krishna does not force himself upon us, and thus we have freedom to act on our envy of God and spirit and separatist desire in the material world. We do so by entering mortal bodies, identifying with those bodies as if we were in matter, and then trying our best to possess what we like and avoid what we dislike among nature's fleeting offerings. Trapped in this mundane duality, we entirely forget our eternal identity. We grasp our bodily coverings as ourself and thus bank our fortunes on the fickle tides of bodily success and pleasure. Never satisfied, since no material object can satisfy the soul. We repeatedly exploit matter for empty, selfish rewards. Lust or selfish desire infects our senses, mind, and reason, confusing us by covering our awareness. The reactions to these selfish acts binds us to this world. We do have free will, but we cannot avoid the consequences of our choices. The cosmic system that responds to our choices and delivers their consequences is called karma.
So we'll pause here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, let's send some love, high vibes. Skip, beautiful job, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So just to kind of frame a little bit of what we're getting into, Krishna is speaking to his friend Arjuna. And Krishna is basically giving a guide for how the conditioned soul, a soul who's left a pure relationship with God in a spiritual space and has entered the material realm, how that soul can come back, how that soul can navigate through this material realm with its, we're going to read about material qualities, with karma that binds us through action and reaction, and then into these various disciplines that allow one to reconnect with God and basically lift out of this material space. So that's a little bit of a frame of the Bhagavad Gita before we go on.
Beautiful. Do you want to share, or do we get our next reader?
Let's read a little bit more before we pause for sharing and questions.
Nice. Well, we're gonna call Sarah and George are always eager and ready. So let's get this dynamic duo on.
Okay, go on then.
If we can get through the British accent, of course we can. All right.
Of course you can. Let's just move the camera over a bit so George can see the screen. There we go.
All right. Which bit was that?
Here, action. Yeah.
Okay. Action, reaction, bondage, karma. When we identify with the body, we cling to the fruit of the body's actions. We do this because we are locked into dualities of attachment and aversion, and thus seek to enjoy what we'd like to avoid, what we dislike. Since we thus lay claim to ownership of our actions, we are held responsible for the reactions to those actions as well. So we return to this world life after life to receive, enjoy, and suffer the results of our actions, and that is karma. And so we wander the universe under the laws of karma, taking on high and low bodies according to the virtue or malice of our acts, and suffering repeated birth, old age, disease, and death. Trapped in the agony and excitement of this cosmic costume party, we forget that we are all wearing material masks and that our real identity is immeasurably greater than all the mortal roles we so proudly play. The irony of mundane life is that for all our vanity, we drastically underestimate ourselves. We think ourselves mortal when we are truly immortal. We endure painful limits to our knowledge and joy, yet as eternal external parts of God, each one of us is entitled to innate and limitless awareness and joy.
We can pause here. Any reflections on any of this? Any questions? So just to summarize quickly the karma issue or the karma question. Basically, God had to create a world, the Gita is saying, where there's a space with no God. Because the soul in pure, beautiful consciousness wants to be with God, naturally wants to be with its source. So in order for there to be separation, God creates all these kind of laws and systems so that this soul can actually live this life separate from God. And one of these laws is karma. So through our actions, we bind ourselves in this world. Okay.
We've got a reflection from Jayanti Dasi. Let's get Jayanti Dasi on. And we'll send our love appreciation, Sarah and George.
No problem. Thank you.
Beautiful reading. Jayanti Dasi, welcome.
Yes, definitely good morning, everyone, depending where you are. I definitely love how you said, our vanity, like almost our pride, that we have these thoughts. Sometimes we think ourselves so big or sometimes so small, but in reality, like, we're actually part of this greater whole. We're part and parcel of God. And sometimes our hubris actually comes into question that I think myself so big on such mundane topics, but then I think myself so small on such ginormous, you know, um, kind of specter of life that I can actually impact and do something meaningful and something so much larger. So I think both of you guys are a testimony of you guys could be very small in the spiritual sense, but making such an enormous impact. So I appreciate both of you guys. And I think that paragraph was just so beautifully written, like absolutely spot on, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a nice point about how this cosmic costume party. We're walking around as if we're not wearing masks or that these bodies aren't covers. And these bodies actually muffle this amazing joy and ability and knowledge that is innate in the soul, that when uncovered has so much more potential, like you're kind of speaking about.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jayanti Dasi. You're in Toronto. We're sending our love, gratitude, appreciation up to my home country. Thank you so much. All right. There's a quick question. I don't know if you can handle this just briefly, Vrindavanath. So Skip was asking, why would Brahman or Krishna create separateness in creation? Can that be spoken to?
It can be spoken to. And honoring the free will of the soul, and also as the loving parent of every soul. God is the facilitator of desire. So at some point in the mind of the soul actually wanted to experience something separate from God. So God facilitated that by creating this material space so that the soul could do that. So it's not actually the wish at all of God for this. It's the wish of the soul. And the Gita is all about the compassion of God, knowing how the soul is actually not experiencing the potential that it could in this material space, guiding it back into its great potential of love, joy, and beauty that's out of this material space with these laws of karma and with these bodies that are on top of the soul.
Beautiful. This is why we bring in the resident experts who have been living this their whole life. Beautiful response. All right, as our next speaker, I'm seeing we can pull on Alabama accents, South African accents, French accents, Finnish accents. Let's go with Alabama. Mary, will you please come on down and I'll get the screen up.
All right. I'm on my phone, so I'm going to have to put the glasses on.
Yes, no problem. Beginning with spiritual knowledge.
Spiritual knowledge. To awaken and redeem us, Lord Krishna personally comes to this world and teaches us. That teaching in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna urges us not to cling to matter, to detach ourselves so that we are free to ascend to our true spiritual life. Thus, when Arjuna asks Krishna to explain knowledge, Krishna responds categorically. Knowledge is to know three fundamental realities. 1, the material body or material nature. 2, the soul who knows the body. And 3, God who knows all bodies. Like any good parent, God encourages his children's education. After all, we must have full knowledge of this world if we are to transcend it. We ourselves must see the difference between godly and godless life. God helps us to explore the universe, make our own comparisons, and decide reasonably what is in our ultimate interest. To do this, we must see that all material experiences, be they pleasing or displeasing, are mere products of three primary qualities of life: mundane, which is goodness, passion, and ignorance. All souls and the God who loves them exist beyond these qualitative coverings.
Beautiful. Oh, I'll get you back on off of mute. And we're sending our love to Sweet Home, Alabama. Beautiful reading.
Are you Mary? Is that Mary, right?
Yeah.
Are you up for continuing reading the next
Yeah.
section? You can make a little more
We'll go read a little
headway.
more. Yeah, that's right. This will fit. Exactly.
Nature's three qualities. Krishna defines the primary material elements, physical and cognitive: earth, solids; water, liquids; air, gases; fire, radiant elements; ether, space; mind, the seat of emotions and senses; reason, our analytic faculty; and ego, our full material identity. As clothes cover the body, these temporary physical and cognitive elements cover the eternal soul. Krishna declares that nothing on earth is free of nature's qualities. The material qualities permeate every object, emotion, act, and ambiance in this world, including food, faith, work, worship, philosophy, bodies, and buildings. Indeed, every free choice we make is qualitative choice: good, passionate, or ignorant, with infinite combinations. How does this work in practice? Consider, for example, our attraction to a house. Many houses are built of the same basic materials: wood, stone, cement, etc. But a house with a certain style or feel, i.e., a certain quality, either attracts, repels, or leaves us unmoved, depending on the quality of consciousness we have cultivated in life. In choosing friends, spouses, music, careers, food, neighborhoods, movies, recreation, and everything else, we choose and attach ourselves to a particular combination of qualities. Thus, we either reinforce or transform the quality of our life. Goodness fosters clarity, joy, and wisdom. Passion engenders striving, rising from attachment and desire. Ignorant behavior traps one in confusion, bound by lamentation and laziness. Krishna gives a qualitative analysis of faith, food, sacrifice, charity, austerity, renunciation, knowledge, action, the doer, reason, determination, happiness, and vocation, explaining how each mode binds us, leading to varieties of future lives. Krishna encourages association with goodness in all material objects and experiences. It is from this quality that the soul hopes to discern between matter and spirit, understanding the material world. Even the quality of goodness binds to the world. Goodness permits the light of knowledge to shine, enabling us to perceive a deep spiritual unity. In the greater scheme of things, the ultimate goal is to transcend those qualities and know Krishna. who is beyond them. By associating with spiritual energy, spiritual people, etc., we revive our spiritual nature. We then easily, spontaneously, naturally act for our highest self-interest.
Great. So I'll summarize real quick. Thank you. So Krishna is saying, okay, soul, you're in that material space. I care that you're suffering. I care that you're under cover of your ultimate potential. So I'm going to give you some information about this space you're in. We can say there's an analogy of like quicksand. So say someone is stuck in quicksand. Some spots will be really deep, some spots maybe not so deep, and some you could step and exit the quicksand. So God is saying this material nature is comprised of three fundamental elements: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And they all bind, you're all in the quicksand, but from the place of goodness, you can actually think more clearly about what's in your best interest. You can actually maybe exit this space, exit the quicksand, and get to a much better life. So that's what these three qualities are all about. Krishna defining and illuminating what the material world is and made of, so that the soul can better understand what it's working with.
Beautiful. Could I just ask a quick question? Could you give an example of something that is sattvic or goodness, something that is rajasic or passion, and something that is tamasic or ignorance, just in any context, just to give that frame for the listeners?
Yes. Krishna spends the entire 14th chapter of the Gita doing just that, walking through food, faith, even charity, all types of things. If we just say charity, so Krishna says that one gives in charity in the mode of, or the quality of goodness, when you do it because it's the right thing to do. Because maybe you have an obligation, so you're fulfilling your obligation. Not expecting anything in return. Now, giving, and not just charity, but giving in general, in the quality of passion, is defined as that where the person wants something in return. And I think we've all experienced that, where someone is maybe trying to be nice to you or something, they want something, or maybe they give you something because they actually want something from you. So Krishna defines that as passion, which is clinging. Passion, Krishna also defines as clinging or attaching to desire or some want. And then giving in ignorance is giving without any reason. There's no reason. Someone is just, it's maybe not even really benefiting. The person doesn't need it. It's not benefiting the other person. It's not benefiting the giver either. So there's an example of those qualities using charity.
Beautiful. Thank you. And we got a hand up. Pam, why don't we take a reflection/question before we continue? Pam, where are you calling in from? Which state on your beautiful road trip?
New Mexico.
Beautiful. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a question, kind of almost going back to the beginning of that reading when it was talking about the body and the soul and the, I don't know if you could bring that back up, Jack.
Yeah.
Because my question was way back then, so I can frame it right.
Was that in the
not this, the beginning of this reading.
Just after the intro.
Just after the intro.
Wait, wait, you passed it, I think.
After
Right
karma?
Yeah. Keep going. There, right there. The material body or material nature, it's the three fundamental realities. And my question is on the second one, the soul. It says, who knows the body? Does the soul also know God?
Yeah, so this is the problem. The soul knows God, but the soul didn't want to know God. So God put the covering of matter over the soul. so that it doesn't know God in this covered space. So God is defining from the very beginning and because the soul is covered by matter or the body, it doesn't know God again, and it doesn't know that it's also spiritual. We connect and relate to the other people's bodies. We don't necessarily, for the most part, see other people as spiritual beings. So God, Krishna is initially saying there are three distinctions: body or matter, souls, and God. He's trying to establish that first because, again, we don't really realize that we're spiritual beings, to say the cliche, having a human experience. Yeah.
Mm. Good question. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That
Thanks,
help?
Pam.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, I think like thinking about, I mean, there's a part of me that wants to go back and like, why doesn't the soul want to know God? But that's probably a really no other deeper
It's,
philosophy.
yeah, yeah.
It's the
You hit the
free
nail on the
will.
head.
Is it
Free
like,
will is the quick answer, but then in relationship to God, why would you want anything else? So you'd keep digging into that, but yeah,
Thank you.
fundamentally, we're free beings.
beautiful? Well, we're sending our love, high vibes to Pam, New Mexico. A great road trip. Thank you for reading. And we'll continue here. Let's get uh, Norway on. Norway with a Swedish accent, originally from Finland. Hanna, I'll get the screen up. And we were down offering or reciprocity, yagya.
What do you mean? I don't have an accent. Okay. Offering or reciprocity. Is this where we're
Yes,
at?
that's right.
Yeah. What is that simple technique that can spiritualize every aspect of our life, from food to philosophy to work to love? It is yagya, the act of offering to God, deceptively simple but powerful in practice. Krishna teaches that we are created to offer, for the Creator builds it into our nature as creatures. It is so much a part of our nature that even those who dismiss sacred texts and shun celestial rites perform yajna nonetheless. Virtually everyone offers something of symbolic or tangible value to superior in order to please, placate, oblige, or win favor. Thus, yajna offering is a universal impulse, a need and an inspiration of people everywhere. Indeed, the ability to feel gratitude and to reciprocate lifts us above abject savagery. By sincere offering, one escapes the tiny prison of self-centeredness, realizing that something or someone in the universe provides for us. This is a cycle, thus a cycle is made to turn, the cycle of receiving and giving back. If we do not keep this cycle turning, if we take but do not give back, then our heedless self-indulgence and ingratitude offend the natural order. By sincere offering, we learn, as science now confirms, that giving bestows more joy than taking, that generosity surpasses greed. The reciprocity that is the heart of yajna sustains justice in our minds, societies, and civilizations. We realize that our bodies, our bounty, and our lives, and the natural world that sustains all these, come as gifts from above. So the Gita teaches. The eternal parts of Krishna, and thus we are eternal parts of Krishna, and thus we nourish our own existence by offering to him. Yajna forges a transformative link with Source. All-knowing God understands our intentions and fairly reciprocates with everyone. By thus offering, we establish a state of yoga, a divine link to our source.
Great. Do you mind continuing?
Yeah.
Next intro to yoga section.
Our resident yoga teacher reading about yoga. Continue, please.
Familiar material.
Yoga. Let us summarize the essential and general traits of yoga before exploring the distinct traits of the chief yoga paths. The power of reason, buddhi. Buddhi, spiritual intelligence or reason, Krishna tells us, is essential for success on all spiritual paths. It is the power to discern where to enter and where to exit, what to do and what not to do, in pursuit of our rational self-interest. Above the fickle mind that likes and dislikes, accepts and rejects, with subjective caprice, there is cool, calm, objective buddhi, the voice of reason. It is in this difficult world, Krishna tells us to seek shelter in buddhi, clear reason that tells us not to selfishly covet action's fruits. Equality, samatvam. Krishna first defines yoga as samatvam, equality or evenness, a stoic state of consciousness in which one staunchly stays aloof from mundane attraction and aversion. This equality or equanimity is thus the opposite of and the antidote for dvandva, dualities such as joy and sorrow, victory and defeat, gain and loss, fame and infamy. When awareness stands in self alone, one is actually linked in yoga. That is a yogi who, with inner joy, inner delight, and real inner light, lives as Brahman and attains nirvana in Brahman. Thus, a linked yogi sees the soul in all beings. One who sees the Supreme Lord abiding equally in all beings actually sees. Renunciation, sannyasa. Renunciation is a central topic of the Bhagavad Gita for two reasons. One, Arjuna wants to renounce the battle, and Krishna insists that Arjuna misunderstands renunciation. And two, Krishna teaches liberation, and one must properly renounce this world to attain liberation. However, Krishna emphasizes that merely giving up the mundane will not liberate one without a positive spiritual agenda. Krishna therefore states that without positive spiritual practice, yoga performed as an offering to God, mere renunciation leads to unhappiness, whereas a sage engaged in yoga as yagya quickly attains the absolute. Krishna offers us a variety of disciplined methods, yoga paths, all leading to our liberation and enlightenment. Ordinary people who go to work, maintain families, and live in the world may achieve perfection through karma yoga. Those inclined to a more retired life of study and philosophy may attain liberation through jnana yoga. For the mystics, the Gita's divine menu offers dhyana yoga, the path of meditation. Yet Krishna emphasizes that the highest path is to devote oneself fully to him in Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of pure love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice
That was-
one. Love, gratitude, appreciation over to Oslo, Norway.
Thank you so
Tusen
much.
takk.
Tack.
So basically, again, using the analogy of God as that loving parent and the soul as the child, God is letting the child say, touch that spinning fan that first time, so that the child understands that that's not something in the child's best interest. It would cause the child pain. So that's kind of like the world. God is still looking out for us. And as soon as we send a signal to God that we want relationship with him again, he's there as all-knowing individual, supreme individual. He knows our intentions. And when we put an intention out that we want reconnection, he's there. And so that yagya, or that offering, what it's called, can be of a variety of sorts. And we know that, like in any relationship, it's one thing to say you care for somebody, but the rubber meets the road, so to speak, when you start actually doing things for the person, caring for the person, helping the person in some way, being there for that person. So it's the same way in our relationship with God. So offering is just a way to say, once we start doing something that shows God we want a relationship with him, he'll be there, and that's our pathway. That's the beginning of our pathway out of the material space. And these yogas, as Hannah just read, have three primary aspects. One is that we have to differentiate between what's good for us and what's not good for us. And God is there to help us with that. He's giving us information, just like he's telling us about these material qualities. So using buddhi, it's called in Sanskrit. Another one is samatvam. So not chasing. The body wants to chase. The body wants to always go for what feels good. It wants to run from what doesn't feel good. So this back and forth oscillating keeps one bound, one could say, in material consciousness, or bound in the material sphere. So samatam, or equality, is about coming to you could say a middle path, or a space where I know that something in the material sphere is not going to fulfill me. I'm going to chase it. I'm going to get something, but it's going to be empty. So then I'm going to chase something again, or I'm going to run from pain. So it's about tolerance. It's about standing in between these dualities in a place of even-mindedness. And then the last one is renunciation. So we have to give up these things that actually aren't doing us good in order to make progress. And that's kind of a quick summary of renunciation. And then we'll get into the particular four paths that Krishna is saying one is encouraged to take. And you'll see how they all come together at the end.
Beautiful. Let's take it over to South Africa. Rita, would you read next with us? Welcome. And I will get the screen on here. Starting with Karma Yoga, Action Yoga.
Action. Early in the Gita, Arjuna wrongly assumed Buddha spiritual awareness to be a passive state in which one withdraws from the world and does not act in it. His motive, of course, was to avoid his warrior's duty to fight. To correct Arjuna's misconceptions, Krishna taught him the path of Karma Yoga. The word karma has another important sense that gives a special meaning to Karma Yoga. Karma often indicates one's natural, vocation, duty, or career, since people maintain both themselves and their loved ones with the fruits of their careers, and since one's career tends to define one's primary role in and contribution to society. Karma Yoga, first of all, seeks to spiritualize our vocation or career in life. After many lives of karma, we accumulate a specific worldly nature or state of being, excuse me, which is not our eternal spiritual nature, but rather temporary conditioned state in this world. Still, if we are to spiritualize our life, we must engage our present worldly nature. Thus, from our condition within a body, our nature, comes our personal duty, vocation, or career, our work. Krishna states that we are created to make offerings and we make offerings from within our natural vocation. Offering the fruits of our career to God turns karma into karma yoga. Throughout the Gita, Krishna requests us to offer all our actions to him. This does not mean that we blindly give away our possessions or neglect those who need us, but rather that we use our assets to help others in a spirit of devotion. Jnana Yoga, knowledge yoga, centered on intellectual engagement. Knowledge yoga, Jnana Yoga, just like action yoga, karma yoga, contains all of yoga's universal features, including the rule of offering one's practice to God. As with the body's food, the mind's food too is God-given and obviously calls for a grateful offering. Thus, by Jnana Yoga, Yaga, the knowledge offering, we thank Krishna for our intelligence and knowledge, and we use those God-given facilities to know and understand their source, Krishna himself. Here too, we keep the cosmic cycle turning, receiving and gratefully offering back. Krishna first defines Jnana Yagya as sacred study and includes it in a menu of sacrifices that yogis may offer within their various practices. The best example of a knowledge offering is Bhagavad Gita itself. Krishna states at the Gita's end that one who studied his dialogue with Arjuna truly makes a knowledge offering to Krishna. Thus, simply learning Bhagavad Gita puts one firmly on the path to full knowledge. Dhyana Yoga, meditation yoga, as we would expect. There are also yagya options for meditating yogis. Some, deep in meditation, offer the 5 senses into the symbolic fire of self-control, while others offer sense objects into the fire of the senses. Some offer all sense and breath actions into self-control fire, made to blaze by knowledge. For those dedicated to the breathing exercises of pranayama, one can offer in-breath to out-breath, or out-breath to in-breath. Thus, even a yogi who lives on air gives thanks and offerings for that air. Krishna stresses that one who makes no offering can be neither a renunciate nor a yogi. Even a detached wise yogi must offer. One can never renounce one's debt to the source of all, nor one's duty to help others, any more than one can renounce self-control, for these acts purify even the wise. Krishna states where one should meditate, alone and in seclusion, in a pure place. He then tells the yogi how to fashion a meditation seat. The yogi is then instructed to sit down, focus the mind on one point, restrain senses and activities. Krishna next describes correct body alignment, serene, fearless, with a vow of celibacy. One should continue to engage the mind. Krishna continues by explaining the need to moderate eating, recreation, and sleeping. The symptoms of yoga serenity, the blissful state of enlightenment, the steps of advanced meditation and contact with the Absolute, and seeing the super soul, Krishna, in all beings and all beings in Krishna, thus connecting irrevocably to the Lord and developing universal empathy.
Thanks for you tackled the 3 disciplines or practices to reconnect with God. I'll just summarize. Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you, Rita.
I'll summarize quickly so that we can get the last section. So if you might recall, Krishna defined aspects of matter. And the soul takes on a body. So the body is made of senses, and there are 5 of them, and also cognitive aspects, so mind, intelligence, and then ego. So Krishna is giving us ways to use our covering because we can't help but to use what we have. We're stuck in this space. So in this space, we have to navigate out of it. So Krishna is saying, okay, you can use your senses to do karma yoga. You can act. And in that way, and offer the results of those actions to me through devotional practice. And you're connecting with me in that way. You can use your intelligence, which is a cognitive aspect of the body, of the covering, to learn about me. And that's a way to connect with me. You can use your mind to meditate on me through meditation yoga. And that's how you connect with me. And finally, what we're going to hear about is using our complete self. As you start to fall in love with somebody, you want to give everything to them. You become intertwined with them, and the relationship becomes about supporting and living and being and breathing with each other. And that's Bhakti Yoga, falling in love with God completely, using all of our senses, using all of the covering in service, in connection to God.
I love it. So let's bring it home. Maybe a French accent. Martine, would you join us? Welcome.
If my dog doesn't bark too much.
Okay.
So let me put my earpieces in. Hold on.
We got Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion. Getting our earpieces all set up. There you go.
You hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Hey, Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion. Bhakti Yoga, the path of offering pure love, includes and engages actions, studies, and meditation, raising them to their purest spiritual pitch by infusing each activity with pure love of God and all God's creatures. Krishna describes Bhakti Yoga as a spiritual offering of all of life to life's source. All that you do, all that you eat, all that you sacrifice or give in charity, all austerity that you undertake, make that an offering to me. In thus transforming one's life into a continuous spiritual offering, Bhakti Yoga emerges as the highest of spiritual yogas. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Dhyana Yoga involve, respectively, engaging one's actions, studies, and meditation in disciplined spiritual practice. On each path, by offering one's practice to the divine, one completes the cosmic cycle of receiving and giving back, and thus one becomes a good cosmic citizen, a civilized soul. Bhakti Yoga gives all of one's existence in reuniting with Krishna. The Gita presents full devotion to Krishna as a supremely rational act, the fruit of pure reason, buddhi. Souls do not come to Krishna by rejecting reason. To the contrary, Krishna states that one who finally attains knowledge after many births realizes that Krishna is everything. Realizing that Krishna is the source of all and that all emanates from him, the rational adore Krishna with much feeling. And one who clearly knows Krishna, the Supreme Person, knows all and adores him with all one's being. When our love to God grows so strong that we want Krishna to enjoy more than we want to enjoy, then we are acting as pure souls and our actions accrue to no material karma. We act for God, not ourselves. This devoted active love is called bhakti. The Gita assures us that when we act for God, yagya, our karma entirely dissolves. The soul constantly and selflessly utilizes the physical and cognitive material element that cover its body with senses, mind, and intelligence, In reuniting with God, it enters pure spiritual consciousness. Thus, although embodied, the Bhakti Yogi has entered spiritual existence.
You want to keep going, Prabhu?
Yeah,
Or
if we
pause?
can.
Yeah.
Let's finish. You don't mind finishing it? I think it's another page or two.
That's fine. Liberation. Just as a loving parent yearns for a wayward child to come home, Krishna makes clear that his own eternal world awaits us. As eternal beings, we have an eternal abode, as explained throughout Bhagavad Gita. These Gita verses describe the soul's journey to Krishna himself. One who understands Krishna's divine birth and action does not take birth again, but rather goes to Krishna. Striving for freedom from old age and death, souls take shelter of Krishna. Reaching Krishna, one does not take birth again in this temporary sad world, but one has gone to supreme and full perfection. Reaching Krishna, there is no more birth. Reaching Krishna's supreme abode, they never return, going to that place of the original person. They do not ever return. Going to Krishna's supreme abode, they do not return. Krishna's supreme abode is self-luminous and so attractive that once reaching, if we do not return. Conclusion. Ultimately, we are divine parts of God, but selfish desires now cover our divine awareness. The Gita shows us how we can easily uncover, literally discover our pure awareness. When the people of the world as a global community again turn the cosmic wheel, offering back the fruits of our political, economic, cultural, social, and intellectual pursuits to the source of all, Earth itself will regain its original divine nature and people will be happy. In pure consciousness, one can finally see Krishna himself in his amazing spiritual form, which is materially inconceivable. Arjuna attained this highest goal by his full devotion to God, and Arjuna, after all, is the ideal student of the Bhagavad Gita. May the Gita be your friend as you advance toward your personal perfection. Excerpts retrieved from A Comprehensive Guide to Bhagavad Gita with literal translation by H.D. Goswami.
Thank you for pushing through.
Beautiful.
You made it home.
Martine, merci beaucoup. Thank you so
You're welcome.
much. Wow, we did it. That was amazing. We just have a couple of minutes left. Obviously going to turn it to you. One question I'm curious about. Will you talk just a little bit, Vrindavanath Prabhu, the kind of the purpose or intention of doing this together in Sangha, right? Because I found this quite helpful because first time I found Bhagavad Gita, I get all caught up in chapter 1, a bunch of names I don't know. But there's something about reading it together and engaging it together. Could you just say something about the process that we went through? And we can, of course, think about how we might do that going forward.
Yeah. Spiritual truth inspires. Spiritual truth guides. Like you said, spiritual truth builds community. So, why not anchor ourselves around it? And I think it's exceptionally important because many people, as we just read and as we've experienced, have, you could say, selfish desire in mind. So if we're associating and spending time with those people, we're going to be used, and we're going to be stuck in this cycle. But when we're in association with other people who want to go, you could say, to the same place where we want to go, we can reinforce each other, we can help each other, we can even guide each other. And we need it. This material world is not an easy place to navigate. We can't do it alone. We need guides, we need inspiration, we need Sangha, we need others, we need friends, we need community. So
Beautiful.
That's what I would offer.
Yeah, thank you for that. Parting words of wisdom, just to be respectful of your time and others. Do you want to bring that all together? Your final reflections, please.
Thank you so much. The final words: God loves us. He wants a relationship with us. He's waiting for us to say hi, as I'm sure all of us in this community have already done. And listening and hearing from his guide and how to get back to him is worthwhile. That's what I would say. And thank you all. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. It's one thing to hear about it, but just to get in and do it. And that's what we got to do today. So everybody, you just read the Bhagavad Gita, summarized. We just engaged the Gita. We got a taste. And I hope that, each of us might get called to, oh, I want to know more about that karma yoga. In fact, I'm just going to just for 1 second come back to it. There was something there in the karma yoga section that really got my attention. And I just want to, yeah. Offering the fruits of our career to God turns karma into karma yoga. And it made me just think, yeah, our work, everything that we do, if we make it not for my own personal benefit or to get ahead in life, but if everything we do it as an offering to divinity, what a way to live. I think no longer the attention is on myself. What will people think of me? It's not about me. It's like everything, just doing it as an offering. So that it's still a theoretical concept for me. It's something I'm going to work on, but that's very inspiring. And so I guess my wish is that each of us maybe, something from that reading catches our attention and we're going to share this. So actually underneath the recording, we'll make sure that you can download the document because it had some references of certain chapters. Please go back, engage. We're going to let you know how to stay in touch with Vrindavanath Prabhu. He's going to be doing more online Bhagavad Gita readings and study groups. But let's do this together. I love it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you, friends. We got another session with Vrindavanath Prabhu's dear friend, my dear friend, Mohan Vilas Prabhu. You'll see him very soon. So, my friends, make it an amazing hour. We'll see you in an hour. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
No.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.